All right, good afternoon. So I am going to be transplanting my new tomato plants that I got the other day from the guy up the road. This is the Sun Sugar, and this is a Bella Rosa. So I just wanted to hop on here and show you what we're doing in this garden bed. Now you can see that I have broccolini that's been it's been here for a while and has already gone to flower and everything like that. So we don't need it anymore. So I'm just going to chop it at the base. We're going to leave the root system in there just to decay and everything. I'm going to chop the rest off and give it to my chickens. So we're going to do that first. Just get that out of the way. And this one is pretty thick. All right, so we got those removed. Now I'm trying really hard not to overcrowd my bed. So I am going to do these every 18 to 24 inches, I'm hoping. It could be that there end up being 16 inches. Not these ones, I'm sorry, the Bella Rosas over here. These ones are indeterminate and apparently they're going to need a little bit more space. So I am putting one in the corner and then one on the other corner, and then in the middle I'm going to do one of my Garden Delight cherry tomatoes. So there'll only be 3 on the back, and we're going to build a trellising system using T-posts on the back section of this, so that way they have something to trellis up. So we are going to go ahead and get started. I didn't bring my garden gloves, and I have already been playing in the garden today and have come across several earthworms. Love to see them in the garden. Also hate to see them in the garden. I am not a bug person. I do not like worms. I do not want to touch one, but I do like to see them in my beds just because I know everything is healthy and happy and going good. So let me go get my gloves real quick and I will be right back. All right, now I have my gloves on, so we will get to work. My husband decided that the exact same time that I needed to come out here and film this was the exact same time that he needed to do woodwork in the backyard. So you'll probably hear the sound of the saw going off in the background. So bear with me. So we are going to get these in, and we're going to do the Bella Rosas in the front. And I'm not sure if you can see it past this. I'm not sure if you'll be able to see past this edge here, but I am going to plant it. I'm going to bury these leaves. Actually, I'll just take them off. Generally, I try to think about that ahead of time, and I try to let them kind of heal over before I put them in the dirt, so that way we don't introduce any, bad bugs or anything to the plant, like any fungal issues or bacteria or anything like that. But too late now. So we are going to go ahead and bury this deep. We're going to try to get it up close to these lower level branches coming off. And we got it pretty darn close, pretty deep in there, and I'll show y'all an aerial view before we're done. All right, so that's about 6 inches off the edge right there. And then we're going to do another one right in the middle. So we're going to do 3 tomatoes up front, the 2 Bella Rosas and the 2 Sun Sugars in the back. And then we're going to have probably a celebrity in the front. And then, like I said, a Garden Delight cherry in the back that also is vining. So there'll be 3 and 3. And then I'll probably just do like peppers or something in between. I'm not very good at planning out my gardens. That's why I call it wayward gardening, because we're just going with the flow. All right, so I did kind of plant these close to the front. They're about 4 inches off the front. I probably should have planted it a little bit farther back, but it'll be fine. And then that way we'll have some room in the middle of the garden. This is a 3x6 garden, by the way, raised bed. So we'll have some room in the middle to plant some things. All right. So we're going to put this one down deep in there as well. Look at how pretty that is. Okay. So that's 2 down, 2 to go. So one thing I like about this is that it's 3 feet across. So I do have to stretch it a little bit, but it's not so bad. I don't have any walking room on the outside. It's just up off the fence enough to keep it from trapping any moisture between the bed and the fence. But I don't have walking space back there, so I did have to consider that whenever I was getting my beds and where I was going to put them. I needed to make sure I could reach over and do what I needed to do. So I am going to have to reach a little bit, but it's not so wide that I can't reach the other back half comfortably. So let me get my sun sugar in here. Now this is supposed to be an easier to grow, an easier keeper than the sun gold. I've never had sun gold and I've never had sun sugar. My thought process is that my children don't eat vegetables, they don't eat tomatoes, nothing. The only time I can get them to eat tomatoes is if like I mix it in with a salad, or maybe I dice them up real fine and put them on their tacos or something like that, and I can sneak it in there. And then they eat homemade spaghetti sauce that I make out of tomatoes. But other than that, they do not eat tomatoes. So I'm hoping that if I can get one that's sweet enough, maybe they'll eat it. We will find out. But apparently the sun gold is supposed to be a little bit sweeter than the sun sugar. But everything that I have read, every video I have watched says that they split when the rains come. And we live in Northeast Florida. We get a lot of rain in May and June. So I ain't trying to put all this work into a tomato plant that the fruit is just going to split on me and it's not going to be any good. But this is supposed to be holding up to, this is supposed to hold up to the rains and the heat pretty darn well. The man I had got it from has experience growing this, and he says that they do phenomenally in our weather, in our climate. So let me get this in here, and we're going to plant it. I'm going to come off about 6 inches off the back of the bed and about 6 inches off the side of the bed. And we are going to get this sucker as down far as we can. I can see where my broccolini was right here. I just dug up the roots on accident. Oh well. All right. So we got that one in there pretty decently. I don't know if you're going to be able to see this side of the bed. Hopefully you can. But I'm going to take out that other broccoli. That one hasn't gone to flower or anything, so I'm going to try to transplant it and hope that it survives. If it goes to flower, you know, it happens, whatever. All right. So we're going to try to dig around it to get the root ball intact. I don't know if you can see that. The root ball is nice and big and fat and intact. And we are going to put this sun gold in here. Again, I'm going to do about 6 inches off the side and 6 inches from the back. So it has plenty of room to do what it wants to do, and hopefully it will stay off of my fence and not grow on my fence. All right, and to be honest with you, I can actually add some more dirt to this side of the bed, so I will do that whenever I'm done. But so we got those in, and I'm going to go get one more celebrity. My garden delights aren't quite ready yet. They've got about 3 true leaves on them. I'm gonna wait until they have 4 true leaves on them before I plant them out here. I have been working on hardening them off though. So every day I come out here and I put them out for a couple hours. So like I have 2 15-minute breaks and a lunch break during the day, and I work from home, so it's easy for me to go in and out and move them around during my breaks. So today I think I put them out at 11 o'clock on my first 15-minute break, and then I brought them back into my greenhouse. I take a late lunch, so around 3 or 3:30 I put them, around 3:30 I put them back in the greenhouse. So they were out for a few hours just to get used to the sun and the weather conditions outside. But I'm not ready to plant them out yet, but I am ready to go get myself a celebrity tomato to plant up in the front over here between, or on the end of my Bella Rosas. So give me just a minute. All right, so I've got my little celebrity tomato. As you can see, I got a good amount of soil from around the roots, so hopefully it's not as sad whenever I transplant it. And then I got a stake to go with it. This one really isn't floppy, but when it gets bigger and starts flopping over, I do have these little ring things, I'll show them to you in a second, that they attach to the stake, and then they wrap very loosely around the tomato. So it has enough time, it has enough room to wiggle around and whatnot. It just doesn't have enough space to flop over. So it helps keep them sturdy. So we're gonna put this in there. Guess I'm gonna have to move some of my green onions over here. I don't know what I did with my, we're just gonna use our hands. I don't know what I did with my shovel. All right, so that is already down there and good to go. So now when I'm done with this, I will label, because I am terrible at remembering anything, especially when it comes to what I planted, when, and where. So I will label them whenever I get off of here. The next step is I do have pre-made plant food. This is the water-soluble one that had the high nitrogen, the high NPK for nitrogen. So I am going to put these in there. Now these plants are already getting pretty large, so we'll see what happens, but this might be the only time that I water them with the nitrogen. We'll see, but they're already growing rapidly, so they just might not need it. I might give them a break, and then of course whenever they go to start flowering, I will give them the high in phosphorus fertilizer. So that's how we're going to plan that out. Okay, so I already mixed this and had it ready and waiting, and we're just going to get some of these leaves and stems and get around the base. All right, almost there. And we've got just a few more. I might have to make some more. All right, I think we're going to be pretty good now. All right, so that was it. That's all I have got for this video. I just wanted to do something on camera as far as transplanting into actual bed. I am going to go ahead, you want to know, I'll go ahead and do that now. I am going to put some, I don't think I ever prepped this side of the bed. It didn't have anything growing in it besides my flowered broccolini that I moved over here. But other than that, it didn't have any actual, like, anything worthwhile growing in it. So I don't think I actually ever added any slow release to fertilizer to it. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. And that way it will have the slow release whenever it needs it as it breaks down. So give me just a minute. All right, so I've got my Espoma Garden Tone. This is what I always use. I ain't gonna lie, I did find a bag of like off-brand organic fertilizer. It's like Walmart brand, I guess, for like $5 or $6 for a bag. So I did buy some of that for backup, but this is what I have always used, and it has been pretty good. So but this is like $15 a bag, I think, is what I pay for it. I can't even remember now at Lowe's. But I'm just gonna sprinkle this in. I don't measure it. I just literally sprinkle until my heart is content. And I try to do an even coat. It is very dusty and smelly. It's my stinky secret ingredient in my gardens, and it doesn't smell good. So we got that in there, and now I'm just going to mix it in. I know a lot of people will say, like, don't disturb the top of your garden. I don't do that. I don't follow that rule. Because if you don't, like, dig it in, it's just going to sit there. Like all of your worms and stuff, I never see worms on the top of my garden ever. They're always a couple inches down. So I definitely try to get it a couple of inches deep mixed in there. You know, I don't go and like till up the entire thing. For the first few inches, I definitely mix it up really well by hand. So I'll go ahead and start doing that. And then I really should have done this earlier, so that way I could have watered it without diluting what I just put on my tomatoes. But you know, I didn't think about it, and you live and you learn. It is what it is. So we're gonna roll with the flow here and try not to disturb my newly planted babies. And this way, in addition to those water-soluble fertilizers, because the water-soluble fertilizers don't stick around. They're immediately available and they're immediately taken, and then anything left over is going to get washed away with your next watering. The slow release, it takes time to break down the little microbes and the earthworms and probably the roly-polies or whatever else lives in the garden. Eat it, break it down, and release it slowly over time. So I definitely use both. I haven't always used the water soluble before. I only use the slow release, but I'm definitely changing to the water soluble since I've been doing it. This year. I've definitely had a lot more luck, you know, getting bigger, healthier, prettier plants, you know. So if you choose not to do it, that's fine. But if it's something that doesn't bother you not to be completely organic, I definitely think that I would encourage you or suggest it for you to try it out and see if it's something that you like and see if it's something that works for you. You know, I definitely want organic as far as not having any like extra chemicals and pesticides and stuff like that on my food. You know, they have the stuff that makes it last longer and stuff like that. One of my kids has ADD, so that kind of stuff actually really affects her ADD. She's been put on a new food diet that by her pediatrician that cuts all that stuff out. So that's kind of more what I'm aiming for as far as being, you know, organic. But I mean, really, in the big scheme of things, in a backyard garden, I don't think it's as important as being like 100% organic. But if you're going to like sell your food or something as organic, then you do have to meet those certain criteria. I think it's a very, very controlled environment in order to get that. I'm not worried about that. I just want healthy food, happy plants that produce, that I can give my kids, you know, healthy food without all those extra additives in it. So that's what's important to me. So I don't mind using the water soluble, but again, it's up to you. If you want to use it, you definitely don't have to. You can just use a slow release if you want. But yeah, so let me give you a bird's eye view real quick so you can see what they look like in ground. You can see how deep I've planted them. Now that I've actually moved around the things, they're not as deep. I'm going to add some more soil to this. But so this, you can see how far down it was. You can see how far down I planted it. The bottom stems are pretty close to the top of the soil. You could really get it all the way. You could really get it all the way up here, right to the bottom of that stem. I know some people prune these bottom stems off, even though they're not the baby leaves. These are true leaves. I'm not going to do that because I don't have enough experience with pruning tomatoes. I know some people will say, like, you need to prune the suckers off and you need to do this. And apparently, from everything I've seen, for like the cherry tomatoes, you definitely want to prune the suckers off in order for them to, not just cherry tomatoes, I mean indeterminate tomatoes. My cherry tomatoes are indeterminate tomatoes. So for the indeterminates, you want to prune the suckers off so that way they continue to grow taller and reach up higher versus growing out and bushier. I haven't seen anything that convinced me that I need to do that on the determinates. So with that being said, I think I'm going to leave my determinants alone. I'm not going to prune anything unless it's getting sickly or something like that, and they're yellowing leaves or sickly leaves, you know, on the bottom. I'll prune those off, of course, but as far as just pruning extra suckers off, I'm not doing that on these determinants. I will do that on the indeterminates, though. I need to do more research on it before I start doing it, though. So next step for this bed is to get my T-post trellis up, and I will show you what that looks like whenever that's done. That's probably something that I'm going to do this upcoming weekend in a few days. So I won't have that right away, but I don't really need it right away. These aren't quite ready to like need to climb up something. But anywho, well, I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks. Bye.